Today, I'm gonna talk to you about all the music that I heard, listened, played, collected during 2024. It's gonna be a list of all the albums that I listened. I'm gonna give a brief description of each one, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. So, there's quite a lot to go through, so I'll just get to it. First, I'll go through the list of albums that came out this year, and I'll give you a little rundown of each one. First on the list, we have Wall of Ice by The Smile. You know them, you love them. Radiohead, Tom York, Johnny Greenwood, as well as the drummer, which I forgot the name of, in a new project called The Smile. This is their second album. I think I like the first album better, but this one is very interesting. It's very experimental. I like how they take very weird guitar phrases and they make it actually sound kind of cohesive and good. It's weird. It's fun. It's a vibe. Definitely a vibe. I would recommend it only if you're kind of into experimental music. If you like Radiohead and that kind of moody type of music, but also like very weird shit, this one's for you. Next up, we have Invincible Shield by Judas Priest. I was actually very excited for this record. I loved their previous one, Firepower. It was punchy, it was a great comeback for the band. It was full of energy, full of riffs, and very good vocal performances. But this time, I feel like the songwriting kind of took two steps back. I didn't quite enjoy it as much as I did the first one. There were some good tunes, definitely, but I think it's an okay record. It's a good record for Judas Priest. It still feels very heavy, very punchy, but it kind of lacks some hooks and some, I don't know, the delivery was not as good as the last one, but still a good listen. Then we have Loss of Life by MGMT. I was very excited about MGMT's comeback because My Little Dark Age came out 6 years ago, and it was one of the best albums of that year, I guess. I don't know, I just became an MGMT fan with that record, and I thought, okay, the next one's gonna be better, or maybe not, maybe it's just gonna be as good. And it was interesting, definitely. They took a weird direction with this one, not where I thought they would take it, but they still managed to make a solid record. I mean, some tracks are kind of stupid. I feel like they're kind of dumb, but overall, I think it's a good record. I think everyone should give this one a listen. It's definitely an interesting album, but maybe it's not for everyone. At number 5, we have A Dream Is All I Know by the Lemon Twigs. I actually didn't know the band. I just saw a random review of this record, and I thought, okay, I'll give it a listen. And it was really good. I didn't know what to expect. I thought it was a heavier album. I don't know why. This album is a mix of late 60s to early 70s, different kind of moods and vibes. Just very rock and roll, very, I guess, Beatles inspired, very flower power, if you will. I can see very interesting similarities with the Beatles and Stevie Wonder and different artists from that age. And I just loved it. I just love that vibe. I just love that era of music. And so this is one of my favorite albums of the year, actually. And I would recommend it very much. Up next, we have Post-Human Ex Machina. No, Post-Human something something by Bring Me the Horizon. I don't know why I played this album. I've never actually heard Bring Me the Horizon before. I never played a record by them. I don't remember why I put this one on, but I'm glad I did. It was actually a good listen. It was fun. I used to take my runs and listen to this album on repeat. I don't know, something clicked with it, and I know it's kind of teenage angst and kind of, I don't know, it's kind of overplayed, I guess, but it has kind of a mixed element with hyperpop, and I enjoy that quite a lot. So I didn't think it would be for me, but I actually have played this thing non-stop since I heard it, and I would recommend it very much if you're into like if you're into metalcore and or hyperpop, I would recommend this very much. Very good album. Next up, we have Romance by Fontaines D.C. I knew about the band. I never heard a song by them, actually. And so it was an interesting experience, from the get-go. The album introduces very weird elements into the mix. Some very, unique takes on the rock and roll formula, and they just make it their own. At times the album can feel a little bit slow, but I think it's a good album overall. I guess the second half of the record kind of slows down a bit, It feels a little on the longer side the more you play it. But overall, I think it's a good album. Everyone should give it a listen. At least try the first half of the record. That's the better half, I think. And I don't know, I just enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. I thought it was original, creative, and so I think it deserves a mention here. Next up, we have From Zero by Linkin Park, the long-awaited return from Linkin Park with vocalist Emily Armstrong. When the singles came out, I thought I wouldn't like this record very much. I enjoyed the first single was it wasn't Heavy as a Crown. Whatever the first single was, I thought it was okay, but then Heavy as a Crown came out and I thought that was a better song, and I still think that way. But having listened to the whole thing, I think the record is pretty okay. I've seen people love it, I've seen people hate it. I think it's a good album. It's a good return for Linkin Park. It takes a little bit of a different direction in some tracks, but I think that's okay because I don't think they have to be the exact same band, because they're not the same band anyways. So I think they should take some liberties and try some new stuff with their new singer. So yeah, I liked it. Next up, we have Billie Eilish, Hit Me Hard and Soft. The first time I've ever heard Billie Eilish was this year with her debut album, and I thought it was really original. The production was great. The singing was okay. I think she has a great voice, but mainly the production and how each song just evolves and turns into something very interesting and very fun to listen. The debut album is very fun. So I was going into this album with very high expectations after listening to Birds of a Feather. I thought that was a great song, and I thought the album was going to be just as good. But to my, disappointment, I didn't like it as much. I thought it was kind of a little bit boring, to be honest. I liked some songs. I mean, this album has like 3 songs that I thought were pretty good, pretty on par with the debut, and pretty on par, I guess, with that aesthetic, that vibe, that production that the first record offers. Maybe I'm wrong in this one because I didn't play the second one. I haven't heard the second record, and so maybe she's taking the whole thing into a different direction. But for me, it was not as good as the first one. So but it's still a pretty good listen, so I'd recommend it. Next up are the albums that I heard for the first time this year, and that's it. They didn't come out this year. These are very classic records for most of them. So yeah, first off, I have Jar of Flies by Alice in Chains. I first heard Alice in Chains, I don't know, like in 2019 with Facelift, and I didn't hear another record from them. And I found Jar of Flies on a record store. I bought a CD, and so I just played it. I knew it was a good one, but man, I did not know it was gonna be this good. I love this record. I have played it like crazy since I got it, and I'm very glad I took a chance on it. Next up, I have Enema of the State. I know Blink is a very old band. I know it's kind of it's a classic. It's a modern classic, and everyone kind of knows Blink. But I have never actually heard a full record. And so I started with Enema of the State. It was a good record. I bought it. It was great. I had fun, and I was very tempted to go see them live. I didn't go, but I still think it's a great record. I didn't love the last one. I mean, the not the last one, but the new record. I guess I didn't love it, and so I just stick with this one. This is a great one. Next up, um, I was very into the '90s, I guess, alternative rock this year, and so next up I have Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, and Siamese Dream by the Smashing Pumpkins. These are two of the best '90s records I can think of. I love them very much, even though Melancholy is kind of bloated because it's a 2-hour record and some songs are just very forgettable. But overall, it has some really, really, really good songs. If you have not played this record, I would suggest just playing the first record because it's a 2-record album, I guess. I would recommend the first one. It's really good, top to bottom, every song. It's really good. I just love it. And Siamese Dream, it's not as I don't know, big, I guess, as Melancholy, but it's a very good album. I don't know, it feels very personal. So I think I like it better than Melancholy, but I get why Melancholy is such a big masterpiece, you know? Next up, Turn on the Bright Lights by Interpol. For some reason, I heard the record way back and I was like, yeah, this is boring. And I just never touched it ever since. And so this year I had the opportunity to go see Interpol play. And it was the 20th anniversary tour of, the 20th anniversary tour for Turn on the Bright Lights. And so they were going to play the whole thing. And I was like, okay, I need to get into this album. Otherwise, I'm not going to have fun at the show. And so I did. And it just clicked with me instantly. I know it's a slow record. It's not as fun, I guess, as Antics. I still think Antics is a better one. But I got into Turn on the Bright Lights, and I appreciate the record for what it is. I think it's a really good record. Great debut album. And I don't know, I just had an Interpol moment in my life where I would just play this album non-stop with Antics at the same time. I was like, yeah, I just got really into Interpol, and this album, it deserves the praise it gets. Next up, I got a classic, Full Moon Fever by Tom Petty. You could attribute this one to the GTA 6 trailer, because I have never heard that song before until I saw the trailer, and it's on this album. And the album is full of classics that I knew. I've heard them before, I just didn't know they were all packed into the same album. So it was a good surprise, I guess, a cool surprise to see that all the classic Tom Petty songs I knew were packed into this album, as well as with the new song I discovered, which is not new at all, but it was new to me and I liked it a lot. Next up, same as before. These are two complete classics, and I have just never touched them before until the big announcement, and I'm talking about Oasis with Definitely Maybe and What's the Story of Morning Glory. I didn't understand what the praise and what all the fuzz was about, but now I kind of get it. Both albums are really good. The songs are very, I don't know, relatable could be the word. And I don't even know why I decided to play them, but Definitely Maybe is such a great, amazing record. It's probably my favorite record of the year in terms of the music that I listened, not because it came out this year, because it didn't. It came out freaking 30 years ago. But anyway, I think it's a really good record. If you have not heard this album, and you're into like rock music, like I would compare this to pop rock music because it's not heavy at all. It's just rock music. If you like rock music and you have not heard Oasis, like actually play the albums, I would really recommend it because they're really good, both of them. Next up, I have Hybrid Theory. This one's a very interesting one because for some reason that I don't even remember, I had the itch to play this album full because I have never actually done that before. I knew, the hits, but I've never actually listened to the whole thing. And so I did this, I think, March, April, and then, they announced the whole thing, and it was a really weird coincidence for me because I've never actually been a huge Linkin Park fan. But now I think I'm really into them because this album, obviously, it's a masterpiece. It's one of the best records from the early 2000s, from the new metal scene. Also, I mean, Meteora is also one of those, but I've actually haven't heard the whole thing. I'll probably do it because I'm set to go to see Linkin Park next year, so I need to learn the rest of the catalog. And Hybrid Theory, it's one of the best 2000s records I know, and yeah, it deserves all the praise it gets. So next up, same as before, this one is
Saturday Night Wrist
from Deftones. I have never played Deftones before. I knew Change and Drive, the cover. That's all I knew from Deftones. And so I decided, okay, I love Drive. I know it's a cover, but it's the last song to this album, so it probably is a good album. And yeah, I was right. It is a very good album. I love it. I think I started playing it back in August or September, probably. And I have not stopped playing this. It's been on loop. I have playlists just with all this type of music, all this shoegaze type of music, and have just played this album non-stop. I've heard 2 songs from Around the Fur, but I'm pretty sure I'll get into Deftones even more this year because I just love the vibe, the heaviness, I don't know, it just feels very interesting. This type of music, I love it. So I'll probably talk about Deftones more next year because I think I'm gonna get into them. As I mentioned before, I have Billie Eilish debut record, When We Fall Asleep, where do we go? It's a very long title, but I think it's an interesting record, definitely a creative record. I know this type of music now, it's not as unique as it was back then, because now I kind of see other artists doing this type of production or this type of music. But back then, I think this was, I don't know if they were the pioneers of whatever this vibe and sound is, but I like this album a lot. It's very fun, it's very emotional, it's very moody, it's very, I don't know, it's very playful. I think it's very playful, and at the same time it's kind of dark, and I like that combo. Next up, I have Paramore's the self-titled album from 2013. I got this at a record store just on a whim because I like Paramore and I have actually never heard the whole thing before, and it's kind of okay. I like the singles, I like the hit songs, but overall I don't think this is a great album. It's an alright, it's okay. It's okay. It's a good play. It's fun to play this on the car, but I wouldn't play this here. So yeah. Next up, I have Blur 13. This is the first Blur album I actually played. Same as the other one, same as the Paramore one. I like maybe 3 songs, 4 songs tops, but overall, I don't think I enjoyed this album as much as I thought I would. I then played some songs from Park Life, and I think that one is kind of better. I don't know, it feels more fun, feels more original, I guess. This one, not Bugman, but 13 feels like a mix of songs. I don't know, it doesn't feel very cohesive to me. I didn't enjoy it as much, and but I think it's an alright record. And finally, I have Fleetwood Mac's Tango in the Night. It is a classic Fleetwood Mac album. I have only heard rumors because it's one of the best records of all time, probably. And I had just never gotten into Fleetwood Mac until I got the CD, and I said, screw it, it's probably good. I know Dreams, I just knew Dreams. But I discovered some of my favorite Fleetwood Mac songs in this record, so it was a great listen. I would recommend this one very much if you have not played this one for some reason, like I haven't. The opening is very good. Seven Wonders is very good. Obviously, Dreams, Tango in the Night, Lies, Tell Me Lies, or Lies. Is that Tango in the Night? I don't know. But the record is really good, and I enjoyed it a lot. And yeah, that's it for this list. I know it's kind of a pointless video. It feels like a pointless video, kind of. But I wanted to make a roundup of all the music that I played during the year. Because, having kind of quit Spotify for a while, I just, my Spotify Wrapped was not as complete as it should have been, or it could have been if I hadn't quit Spotify. So this one was a video for me because I like compiling my media consumption into one thing. I like the Spotify Wrapped. I like the Steam survey Wrapped. Everyone's doing Wraps now, so I'm doing mine. Why not? And so next year, I hope I get to make an even longer video because I want to listen to even more music. I want to learn more about all these albums not these albums, but all these artists that I heard for the first time this year. I want to listen to newer records, the new releases. I don't know who's going to release a record this year or next year, but I want to try more music. That's basically the takeaway from this video. Is I want this list to be 2 pages long now instead of 1. And yeah, that's it for this video. I'm gonna make a video talking about my favorite records of the year. It's probably gonna include a couple of records that I have not heard this year, but it's probably gonna include some records as well. So yeah, that's it for this one, and I hope you have a great year, and here's to a year full of music and videos and concerts and I don't know, just music talk, music listening, discovery, everything music. I hope 2025 brings a lot of good, great music and experiences. And that's it. Thank you.